guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Mother's Basement. This is one I wanted to check out a while ago, but right now, Dr. Stone was one of my favourite anime of last year, and I want to see what Mother's Basement has to say on what is so great about it. Because boss, the humour's there, it's interesting, the idea's great, the characters are so cool, just everything just like, I love the pacing, let's just get into it.
Dr. Stone has a hell of a hook.
Yep.
One day, with no warning or explanation, every human being on Earth is turned into a stone statue. As the centuries pass, nature reclaims the planet until one other day, 10,000 years after that first one, a teenage genius named Senku Ishigami is revived by unknown means. Finding himself stuck in a now prehistoric world, he immediately sets out to discover how he was revived, save the rest of humanity, and use his vast scientific knowledge to rebuild civilization from scratch. Unfortunately, one of the first people he revives is the brutishly strong Tsukasa, a modern-day caveman seemingly built to live in the new, untamed jungles of Japan.
It was a good idea at the time.
Doesn't really want to return to the way things were, and would much rather revive only the young and pure to live out their days in this unspoiled world. He has no qualms about killing the old to build that utopia, or anyone else who might get in his way. In a battle of brawn, Senku doesn't stand a chance against Tsukasa.
When it comes to brains,
kingdom of might, but with his brains and a bit of help from a few primitive humans who somehow survived into the present, he might just be able to build up his own kingdom of science to fight back. Before Dr. Stone, I didn't really read manga before I'd watched their anime adaptations, but that premise was just way too intriguing to pass up. And as I found out, it has a lot more going for it beyond that solid high concept. Dr. Stone
I'm not going to read the manga.
That finally turned me into a weekly manga reader.
Yeah,
and
I'm waiting for the anime.
2 years later, its anime adaptation has become one of my favorites of 2019. Today, I'd like to shine a light on what I see as the series' biggest strengths, in the hopes of figuring out what exactly is so great about Dr. Stone. This video is sponsored by Crunchyroll, the anime streaming service where you can watch Dr. Stone and hundreds of other great shows whenever you want on whatever device you happen to have handy. Stick around to the end to hear more, or head to crunchyroll.com/basement
I highly recommend
to try
Crunchyroll
it
for watching stuff, man.
today. Right off the bat, this series sets itself apart from your standard Shonen Jump fare by taking its focus away from the fighting. There are a fair number of battles in Dr. Stone, but they're not given all that much screen time. Instead, the story is mostly about Senku's preparations for those battles, gathering resources,
which is class, and it's so funny when it does it as well,
inventing the tools he needs to win the fight before it's even begun. This remains interesting, even in the absence of over-the-top action, for two reasons. Firstly, because everything that Senku does is based in practical, real-world science, it's just inherently interesting to see how he solves problems. As the series is starting out, his experiments have a primitive technology-esque survivalist appeal. There's something immensely satisfying about seeing man bending the world to his whims with such simple tools. Once Senku has a proper lab set up, though, the appeal shifts from primitive procedure to seemingly impossible scientific
The evolution within the show itself is just class.
Our hero begins performing near miracles,
Nothing comes out of
introducing
nowhere.
electric light to the stone world.
Like,
it's almost the stuff of fantasy, yet because we see every step it takes to get there, we know that it really works, at least in theory. The emphasis on research and planning over action also allows the series to place a greater focus on the interactions between its characters.
Yes,
working
it does. They get so much
chemistry
development.
between
It's
Senku and his
boss.
friends, and uneasy tension between them and potential enemies. It's not the funniest anime out there, nor is it quite as psychological as, say, The Promised Neverland, but it is a lot of fun watching all of these vibrant
it does have some really funny moments,
bouncing off of each other. Senku's a particularly wonderful protagonist, precisely because he's not particularly wonderful. He's a schemer, a bit of a sleazebag, and more than a little arrogant about his intellect. And while he does think that restoring humanity is generally just the right thing to do, the main thing that's motivating him to do it is his dream of going to space one day, which ain't gonna happen without a lot of help. In contrast to your standard idealistic shonen hero, Senku is more of a cackling mad scientist type. But he still helps people
Not
because
so
that's
over the top like in Steins Gate,
to do what he wants. So we as an audience get to enjoy watching a character enact kind of villainous plots and manipulate people without the moral guilt of rooting for an actual monster. That makes for a fun change of pace from your typical adventure anime, although if you're looking for a more conventionally sympathetic hero to root for, you know, the save the world, do anything for love type, both Senku's naive and strong-willed best friend
need to
Taiju
watch season
and
4 of My Hero
his
Academia. I haven't started it yet.
sorcerer
It's so
assistant
embarrassing.
Chrome fit that bill pretty nicely. And there are plenty more characters to fill any other niche that you might be hoping for. Ishigami Village alone has 40 inhabitants with their own names and recognizable designs, and there's
Everyone
even
has a
more
moment,
memorable
like, it's
faces
great.
among the villains. You've got the manipulative, self-centered mentalist Gen, the tough as
Gen's
nails
brilliant. I
tomboy
love him.
Kohaku, who, for the record, is best girl, the adorable and always helpful child-slash-mascot
Yay.
Suika, the straight-laced, no-nonsense village guard Kinro, and his lazy, all-nonsense sidekick Ginro, Magma and Mantle, who are basically caveman versions
Yeah,
of Gaston
Magma's
and
an
Blue,
interesting one.
Kaseki, a passionate elderly
love him.
craftsman
Absolutely love
with
him.
steady hands supported by the buffest body in the whole village. I should probably stop just listing characters, but that's not even all the important ones. Dr. Stone's cast is huge, and while it kinda has to rely on tropes to give that many people distinct, appealing personalities, it does a hell of a fine job of making everyone we spend any significant time with feel like a unique, three-dimensional human being. It's not hard to find at least one favorite
Nothing
character
seems
here.
forced
Solid
in the
writing
show for
carries
me,
a
like.
lot of that weight, but the show and manga's bold aesthetics are just as key to its character appeal. Korean artist Boichi's character designs are wacky, exaggerated, expressive, and instantly memorable. Also, for the most part, crazy horny. Yet that
They can
cartoon
be.
edge is blended with a meticulous attention to detail, with shading and texture work at times comparable to the art of Yusuke Murata. His style lends the manga's world a unique, off-kilter personality, while still making it feel impressively tangible. Those complex designs don't exactly lend themselves all that well to animation. As an anime, Dr. Stone is a fair bit stiffer in motion than, say, My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer, but it makes up for that in other ways. It's got some of the funniest reaction faces you'll see all year, for starters. The background art that depicts its lush, rocky world is consistently gorgeous.
It is
and
nice,
highly
isn't it?
detailed, and in keeping with the scientific subject matter, the show's animators went to great lengths to make real processes, like blowing glass or crushing shells, look as authentic as possible.
Brilliant.
And that attention to detail is really important, because as much as Dr. Stone wants to simply tell a fun adventure story, it also aims to educate its viewers about the wonders of science. Though, don't let that scare you off. It takes
really
a
doesn't
very
throw it in your
different
face.
approach
It's,
to education
it
from
does.
other shows with similar goals.
Don't
from
let that
Western
scare you.
mainstays like Bill Nye the Science Guy and the Magic School Bus to anime like Cells at Work,
Cells at
the
Work.
vast majority of edutainment tends to be episodic in nature. And that makes sense. If your goal is to teach, it's only logical to focus on delivering memorable, self-contained lessons over telling complex ongoing stories. But science kinda is a complex ongoing story. All of nature is interconnected, and every invention that we use today is the product of people building on other people's discoveries stretching back for millennia. Dr. Stone accelerates that timeline by a little bit, but its story fundamentally reflects that process of innovation and iteration. Senku's ultimate goal is to rebuild civilization from scratch the same way we did it the first time. The interpersonal conflicts of its narrative create the need for specific inventions that then become the focus of individual episodes, chapters, and arcs, but once we move past the absolute basics, like, say, rope and soap, everything that the
Rope
Kingdom
and
of
soap.
Science creates is made by building on what they've accomplished before. The series' trademark roadmaps help to track this progress, showing step by step.
It
how
is
the
I like it,
materials
'cause then you're like,
Senku
oh, what are they
and
gonna do next?
Co
How are they gonna do that
and
step? How are they gonna do that
technologies
step?
they develop with them
Then they're gonna-
enable further innovations down the line. And while this approach does make it a bit harder to put everything you learn from an episode of Dr. Stone into a neat and tidy box in your brain the same way you can with typical works of edutainment, the trade-off is that all of the facts you learn from the series have lasting narrative significance, which is significant because our brains are a lot better at retaining details from stories we've been told than they are at remembering isolated facts. Once you become invested in the characters and world of Dr. Stone, you have as good a reason to remember how Senku, Kohaku, Chrome, and Suika used magnets to gather iron sand from the river, what it took to smelt that into usable iron, and how they then used lightning to turn that into a magnet, as you do to remember, say, the differences between quirk types in My Hero Academia, or how flight works in Dragon Ball. What's more, because certain subjects like magnetism and electricity tend to be applicable to a lot of the goals that Senku sets out to accomplish, the series allows its audience to develop a more comprehensive understanding of the subjects than they'd gain from a single episode about them. In much the same way that you probably have a better understanding of how Crazy Diamond works and what its limitations are than you do with, say, Aqua Necklace or Superfly. I don't have the data to say with any degree of certainty that this is a more effective method of teaching science than Bill Nye's approach. It's certainly nowhere near as efficient, since Dr. Stone spends a lot more time developing its characters and plot than it does imparting useful scientific knowledge. But I can say that I'm more emotionally invested in this series than I ever was in The Science Guy or The Magic School Bus. And because of that, on top of teaching me more about how the modern world works, Dr. Stone has managed to help me better appreciate everything that world has given me, and the hard work and human ingenuity that's taken.
Helmet falls off, it looks so stupid.
As someone who can barely see past the end of his own nose, the moment where Suika put on her glasses and saw the
amazing moment
for the first time in her life brought tears to my barely functional eyes.
Me and my girlfriend was just like,
one of many surprisingly emotional scenes that result from Senku's research. That, I think, is where Dr. Stone's real educational strength lies. Beyond simply conveying information about our world, it has an incredible ability to inspire a sense of genuine awe at the impact that science has had on it and on us.
Like
By
how it actually helps us.
Earth to a realistic, primitive state, Dr. Stone effectively frames scientific knowledge as a world-shaking shonen superpower, and an attainable one at that, which is really important. When you're a kid watching shonen anime, it's only natural to want to be more like the heroes.
Hell yeah, I want to go Super Saiyan with yellow hair and fire beams and fly.
Or escapist fantasies, emphasis on the fantasy, they don't always offer many practical outlets for that motivation, beyond Naruto running everywhere. A lot of shonen heroes are good role models who can inspire viewers to be better people and stand up to bullies, but often only in abstract terms. Things change when these kinds of stories are used to present activities that kids actually can participate in real life. Many a child, or grown adult watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Has gotten caught up in the hype and bought a booster pack or two.
Yeah.
100. And the power that anime has to get kids excited about real things isn't limited to glorified advertising. Haikyuu caused enrollment in Japanese boys' high school volleyball to surge by 10% in just 4 years, simply by showing the kids reading Shonen Jump that volleyball could be cool. In a similar manner, Dr. Stone uses the tools of hyped-up shonen storytelling to demonstrate how interesting, fun, and rewarding scientific research and experimentation can be. And it further amplifies the coolness factor of those things by demonstrating them through an apocalyptic adventure story, as opposed to, like, a science fair tournament arc, I guess. It will take more time to see what effect that's having on kids than it did to observe Haikyuu's impact on volleyball, but I think that Dr. Stone could potentially inspire a lot of children to pursue careers in science and medicine. It's impossible to estimate how many at this point, but considering how far we've gotten with only 0.1% of the global population working in scientific research today, just bringing in a few thousand more scientists could have a significant positive impact on humanity's future.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is all very hypothetical, but how many manga or anime can you honestly say that about, hypothetically or not?
No,
Even for those of us who don't end up in science, though, Dr. Stone conveys a really powerful and positive humanist message. That people, even as Chrome would put it, bad dudes like Ginro and Magma, have the potential to do great things. That it's not just morally right, but also rational to help others achieve their potential, because what benefits the group benefits us as individuals. And based on that, at least according to Senku's calculations, all 7 billion of us are worth fighting to save.
Damn.
The series isn't some flawless moral parable, mind you. In cheerleading for modern science, it does at times threaten to present the modern world as a kind of perfect utopia, which it definitely isn't even if it does look that way from caveman standards. And I don't always agree with the show's specific philosophical stances, but that core theme is something that I can 1,000,000% get behind. If you've got a kid who's even 1% interested in science, I think that this is one of the best pieces of educational media that you could ever expose them to. But it only works on either level because, above all else, it's just a blast to watch, or read for that matter.
I love
tells
it.
a
I think it's so
compelling story
funny.
with
It's
a brilliant
great.
high concept driven by unconventional conflicts. It's gorgeous to look at, pretty damn funny, and packed to bursting with interesting, likable characters. If you like shonen anime, and really, who doesn't, at least to some extent, Dr. Stone is about as fun and fresh as it gets. Those are the reasons I like Dr. Stone, but if you've got your own, or reasons that you don't for that matter, I'd love to read about them in the comments down below, along with basically anything else you want to say. The extra comments and likes that you guys have been leaving have really been helping the channel out, so again, thank you so much for that. I'm Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.
Boss. Yeah. Dr. Stone, definitely worth watching if you've not seen it. It's enjoyable, it's fun, and yeah, I just really can't wait for season 2. It was one of my favourite anime of last year, man. It was so good. Absolutely awesome, and yeah. This year's got a lot of sequels coming out. I'm excited for. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't, leave comments down below. Let me know what you want to discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys next day.